Okay, hey everyone, this is Cliff. I wanted to talk about Harbor Freight's 1x30 belt sander. I think it's a great little tool. It's not well built. We all know that if you got one or if you've seen the other videos that are out there. But if it's used properly and some adjustments are made, I've been using it to great results. It goes a little fast. We all know that. Yeah, again, it's not well built. So I'm just going to, every once in a while, I clean mine up. And I thought it'd be a good spot to talk about it. And then I'm going to show a progression I do. Give you an idea of what this thing can actually do. A couple things about it that are worth mentioning. This is a Scotch-Brite belt. Awesome belts. They can take an old blade and make it look darn near new finished again. Let me see if I got an example of that lying around here. But you gotta, it doesn't quite fit in the belt sander. Here's a just an idea of the kind of finish you can put on an edge or on a blade surface. This one's my beat up test blade. You can see all kinds of things I've tried with it, but we're gonna talk about that edge here today is what I'm hoping to do, and show you how I did it. First thing though is talking about this is it doesn't fit up in here, up here towards the top, and so what I had to do, it just grinds up in here, and it didn't fit behind here, so I bent mine. I tweaked this thing. I wasn't afraid. It was $50. The shipping was almost as much as the unit for me out here. But so I opened this up, pry barred it, bent it, did what I had to do, sanded this back until it actually moved. Another thing is a lot of the belts that I've gotten, some are tight. And what I do with the tight belts is I'll put them on my system here, and then I'll bend them. I'll squeeze them and rotate and squeeze, and that seems to loosen them up, and then eventually they'll actually start working. Almost. Yeah, this one's going to take a little while. This one came to me, it was extra tight, and I may try and put some water, soak it in some water, and then put it on there. They say don't leave the leather belts on because it'll stretch them out, but if you got a belt that's too tight, I'll soak it in water and then just leave it on the sander, and then it'll stretch it out naturally. But the Scotch-Brite belts are really awesome. This is the pivot back here, tension wheel. Right in here, sometimes you need to grind this little piece out a little bit further so it'll actually go in and out all the way. First thing you want to do is just loosen this up. The pivot nut, loosen that up so that you can freely just move that back and forth, like most everybody else has. Took all the other stuff off the thing, so that you can pop belts on and off as you want, and you can just flip and go. And they get dusty. It's really not an indoor. My little shop's in a small walk-in closet. I actually am outgrowing my space here, but I always wear a dust mask, always wear eye protection. And then I've got a little shop vac with a HEPA filter on it, and I vacuum all the time and sweep up because the little grit gets everywhere. Let me see. So that's the machine. The wheel was pretty rough, and what I did was I took some sandpaper. This ain't the great grit, but you get the idea. I took some sandpaper, and with the machine on, I retrued the wheel and smoothed it out. Now watch your fingers don't get stuck up in there, but and that smoothed out the wheel, with smoothed out the actual blade. You can do a lot of adjustments with it. You can make it work. I guess that's my point. The key is not to use a lot of pressure. This machine is spinning. It's got grit and abrasive. I use a whisper light touch, especially after a new profile or apex has been formed. The blades don't even get warm, you know. I've got hand sanders and guided rod systems where the blade will get warm in my hand from the vigorous scrubbing. I'm not going to make you listen to grinding videos. I will say one more thing, and excuse me if I'm rambling on. I'm working on my video skills, and hopefully I'll get better at this as I go. But when I sharpen a knife, first thing is this this little plate. I've got it set. I've got it marked on the side. I like to take a piece of duct tape and I put it right there, and that way I can replace it. I find that the metal on metal will put some scratches going across, and I just like the duct tape. There's probably something better, but then I just take it and replace it as I need. And then as I go, all I'm going to do, I'm not going to show it on camera because there's just a ton of videos of people showing people, you know, sharpening these things. But I set it, I bring it up until it just starts to make some noise, and then I just walk it across. And I'm light, man. I'm real light with my touch. There's no need to be pushing hard, and that's where you get that heat buildup. Let me show you what it can do. I'm going to set up the camera here over by the computer. Okay, here we go. I'm going to use the same spot on the same blade. Actually, it's a different kitchen knife. 7-inch Santoku. I think it's made by Oneida. Nothing incredible. This is, say you had to reprofile or you're setting the bevel and you know, removing some damage. This is a very vicious 80 grit. Worst case scenario, right? Let me go ahead and, this is also a cheap USB camera, but it'll get the job done. You should be able to see, you get the damage here. So the edge has got a burr, it's flaked off, it's cracked off in spots, but all the old metal is gone. We have a, you know, essentially a clean apex, although it is rough. And then what I would do at this point is knock that off with 1000 grit. So hold on, and I'll do that and be right back. Okay, 1000 grit diamond stone used to knock that rough edge off. Now I've got a fresh start. I can still see a little flaking there, but we got a flat. It'll reflect light. You can clearly see we've removed all the old steel and we've got the new profile in place. This is at 80 grit. I'm now going to jump to a 220 grit. Apex the knife, remove all of that flat that's sitting up on top, and I'll be right back. Here's 3 passes, 3 light passes with 220 grit aluminum oxide belt. If it's not apex, it's really close. And so there's actually not very much of a burr formed at this point. We're starting to get some clean lines. You can see it's straight. All the chipping or blade damage from the earlier grit's been removed. So that's a really nice step to take that 1000 grit, knock it off. Also make sure you're getting down to a little bit of fresh steel too. You know, nothing, so you know what you're working with. And that's the blade at 220. And I think we'll go to, I have 360, but I think we'll just go straight to 600 from here, and I'll be right back. Okay, here we are, 3 light passes per side with 600 grit silicon carbide. I honestly don't know which is better. Hey, come back here. It seems like the aluminum oxide belts last longer. The silicon carbide belts will smooth out faster, and you can actually get, it may be a 600 grit belt, but it's actually sanding like it's 800. But this is what I've got. So this is a 600 grit. This is a fresh 600 grit silicon carbide belt. The other thing I do, starting at about this point, is I've got a soft pine wood block, and I'll just run the blade gently through the block. It removes any loose, you know, burr. I hate to say burr, but any loose metal, and cleans it up so I can see it real nice on the thing. I can see a little bit of chipping, but the overall blade apex is becoming very refined. It is, you know, shaving sharp, I guess you'd call it. It'll shave, it'll cut paper. If I was hit this with a leather strop right now, the leather belt, you could push cut paper and that sort of thing, but I'm really kind of curious to see how far we can take this, so I'm going to keep on going. Again, this was 600 grit, 3 light passes per side, and then I just ran it through a little wood block, and we'll keep going. Next stop is going to be 1000 grit. I'll be right back. Here it is. After the 1000 grit, this is the silicon carbide. And it's also a worn 1000 grit belt. I should mention the camera is if I haven't already, it's a El Cheapo $20. I think it claimed to be 400 power or 800 power. It's on its maximum magnification setting. The screen, across the screen, will be approximately 1 millimeter. I've put test scales up and things like that, and it'll show 1 millimeter, and it'll show down to about 1/100 of a millimeter. You know, it's pretty tight. So what we're looking at is actually quite small. This is the 1000 grit. I did 4 passes each side, only took a minute, and then I swiped it through a wood block just to knock off any extra stuff that might be laying around. We don't have a burr, you know, no large foil burr or anything ever formed. You know, depending on what your definition of sharp is, we've been there for a while. You can see where the light's reflecting a little bit, right, you know, off a couple little beads, I guess you'd call them. This would be some minor stuff. I'm just going quick with this. I wanted you just to see what you can do. You know, it's still, I would call this bevel flat, because you know, the lines aren't curved. You got one continuous line going from top to bottom, and we're definitely hitting the apex. We're not forming a burr, and it was real quick. So that was 1000 grit. I've got a ton of different belts I've been experimenting with today and stuff, and this is kind of just what I'm using for the moment. You know, everything is subject to change. The final belt that I found, I didn't even realize I had it. It's a Norton Zack belt, and it's a 3000 grit with the structured abrasive. Okay, here we are after the 3000 grit. Just checking it myself. I did wipe it through the pine wood block a couple times, and then I did one more light pass. Looks like we're still, you know, there's always room for improvement, sort of thing. Again, no large burr. Fairly refined blade compared to where we started. And I think we'll go ahead and I'll just go ahead and try and strop this, and we'll see what it can do. Okay, final results for this knife after the leather belt with the white rubbing compound on it. Not as happy with this one as I was with the last one. I see a couple spots where it actually looks like it may have chipped back out. The overall bevel itself is pretty thin. I mean, a lot of the last little bit of reflections off of it. It's very sharp. You can see how it curves a little bit, the last, I don't know, 1/10 of a millimeter or something like that. That's where the beginning of the rubbing compound on the leather belt has rounded the edge. You do want to watch out for pushing too hard, because you'll round that whole apex right off. All in all, this is the results. I'll show the knife now that we're done with this part. That'll give you an idea of what you can do with the right belts and the proper application of what kind of an edge you can actually put on with the Harbor Freight's belt sander things. Hold on one second. Here's the end results. This will push cut newspaper. I don't know if it'll split a hair. That's kind of what I've been trying to get, is to get a blade that'll split a hair from a powered system. I think we can get there, but this was just to give you guys an idea and share what kind of my process and what I do. This is the leather belt, and it's a new leather belt. I use it soft side out. The green leather belt, this is an example after you've used it a while. With the soft side out, it just gets the coating gets saturated in it, and I clean them. I use rubbing alcohol and clean them, get back down, get underneath, get the grit out, and then I apply a fresh coat. Usually I heat it up a little bit and apply it on. The white just shows the dirt so much quicker, and this is a brand new belt. They actually get better as they get worn in and softer. So hopefully that'll help you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. Let me know what I can do better, and thanks for watching.